your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mackie.
Love that song, love that voice. Welcome to
Dave.
That's the one, and Mackie's Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. No, it is not an imaginary continent. There's actually people living here.
What, I'm not a crisis actor?
You are. I can only speak for myself. I'm pretty sure you're a crisis actor. It's home to fresh, unadulterated ideas and conversation in the chat room and a place to get your merch. This is show number 502. 2 and 500. That's a lot of shows. Catch us on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. If you missed Solaris' show, don't fret. It was all about Samhain. It's all about Halloween. It's all about the Wiccan circle and I guess directional, intentional thought, magic. Really, I think. I caught some of it. I didn't catch all of it, but I can catch it on the archives. And in fact, to be honest with you, I wasn't binging, but I caught up on a lot of the archives over this week, and it is free. So just go to the freedomslips.com homepage and go to the archives, and there's a whole raft of shows there that you can listen to gratis for free without charge, no money up front or after. So that's really cool. So if you missed it, don't fret. Just go and check out the archives. And it used to cost $5, but now it's free. Before we start, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. For Dave, that's
the Darkinjung.
Thank you. And for myself, it's the Daruk people. And with that, we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. And what a week it's been! And what a week it's been! In Australia, we've got a channel. It's a public accessible. Like it's a free channel, free to air, run by a special broadcast service here in Australia, because the SBS was established I think 60 years ago, 50, no longer, about 60 years I think. Anyway, the point is, it was established for people that didn't speak English as a first language, because a lot of immigration was happening, especially after the white-only Australia policy was revoked. Yes, we had that. That's right. Really interesting. Nobody really talks about that anymore. But the point is, there's now a sister channel that SBS is also producing. It's called NITV. It's the National Indigenous TV channel, and there are a lot of very interesting Indigenous programs, and not just Australian Indigenous, but rather, this is global. They bring programs from all the Indigenous peoples everywhere. There was, in fact, an Irish show on it, believe it or not, and I think a Welsh as well, North American, etc., etc. And then it's really interesting to watch, and a lot of interesting information, because it's a lot of documentaries that don't make it to the mainstream, which is really interesting. A lot of stuff around, skinwalkers, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, eyewitness accounts, talking to the native people. So this is not white people going around hunting Bigfoot. That's not the show. This is native North Americans producing the show and talking to people, Native Americans yet again, that had encounters, and they look at it quite differently to, I guess, what the Caucasians might do. For them, it's a blessing if they get to see Sasquatch, Bigfoot, etc., etc. So it's a really interesting angle, and like I said, fascinating to watch. So I'm not sure if you can get it in the States. If you ever get around it, NITV, see if you can. But it has been a crazy week, Dave. I think it's been a crazy week. I gotta share this with you. We are going to COP26, I think it is, right? It's the climate change conference, whatever.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Where we're going to do, apparently, according to Greta Thunberg, we're going to do a lot of blah, blah, blah. I watched her speech on blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We have now committed to net zero emissions by 2050. 2050. That's right. That's about 29 years from now.
I'm dizzy from the speed in which, and the ferocity in which the current sitting government has From the 180 it's done.
So
Fast.
But the thing is that they see it appears they have, but they really haven't, because we're still busy opening coal mines and gas exploration sites. And don't forget, so we've invested $20 billion for the next 10 years. That's how much we've pledged. And then there was a report I watched an interview this morning with the Minister for Emissions. We actually have that. we have a minister.
You've got a busy job.
No beans for you. And the question was, well, is this enough money? The interview, pretty tough interview, I thought. It was really good. And the interview goes, is this enough money? Is the $20 billion enough? And I've answered your question already. We've invested $20 billion, right? What future governments will invest, I can't make that. I can't tell them what to do. But we are doing this, which is exactly nothing. They're doing nothing.
Well, they're investing the money, Mackie. That's the important part.
No, well, they're pledging it.
Pledging.
Pledging. So whenever there's a big disaster, we'll pledge trillions. I'll help you. Nah, not really. Haiti, many people pledged many things. Nothing happened. Nothing.
No one got anything. That's what Mackie's saying. That's right. Yeah, it's like when you pledge to donate to a TV auction charity thing.
Yeah,
we've raised $3 million or $300 million. Have you?
Yeah.
Well, people pledged that much money.
Yeah. It was mostly young children that called without their parents' permission. But their heart is in the right place.
That's right.
If you have time, this is on the internet, so I know everybody that listens to this show can actually watch it. It's called The Juice Media. Like the juice that you drink. The Juice Media.
Yep.
Yeah, it's based out of, I think it's out of Melbourne. A tiny mom and dad production company, a couple of actresses, and that's it. But making a massive impact, and I love watching their honest government ads.
Oh, the honest government ads, yes.
Yeah, that's those are the guys. Yeah, Juice Media.
There is some swearing in it, so if you don't like swearing,
yeah, we wouldn't be able to air it here. Like,
no, but what's funny is the honest government ads are filmed and edited in a fashion that the government put their own ads out in.
Absolutely. And it's really done very professionally. So this is not the slap dash.
I've seen all the editing, and I've watched the thing that they put out on that. It's really cool.
It's me too. Yeah, it's phenomenal. So I would highly recommend all of you that are interested in alternative media, alternative news, alternative views, to go ahead and check out the Juice Media. I'll put a link.
They certainly call out the government's lies. Let's put it that way.
Oh, don't they?
Yes.
And they're not just Australian. They do it for American news.
Do
for other.
they? No, I haven't seen those ads yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So initially I thought they're American, but no, not at all. They are, in fact, Australian based. So
I knew they were Australian. Yeah.
If you get the chance, check it out. They've done international kind of things as well. So it's quite a broad reach, and they have been shared by a vast a number of high-profile celebrities, believe it or not. And they're on Patreon if you wanted to support them, and that's all good. But here I'll send it to you. Now this is the Facebook link in the chat, so you go or don't go. It's soon going to be called Meta Book, isn't it, or some crazy thing?
That's right.
We're going to rebrand. Okay, you do that, Mr. Zuckerberg. You do what you need to do. That helps
at this late stage of the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll make it all better. And now I've got a really big problem with Google, with Facebook, Amazon, all of those, because they started. And bless you, my friend.
Pardon me, I tried to push the mute button.
No, it's good to let people hear the natural sounds. The natural sounds.
No producer ever.
No, but look. This is the funny thing. Let me tell you just a little story, then I want to throw it to my esteemed colleague. But, thank you, Stardust, man. We have stood the test of time, I think. 500 plus shows. So thank you for the thank you for mentioning. Absolutely. Stardust, man. I love that. Alias.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we are. Well, my train of thought has derailed. What was I talking about, Dave?
Oh, you were gonna take the floor?
Oh, yes, the story. That's right. Yeah. So Hewlett Packard. So Hewlett and Packard were actually two guys that started in the garage. Believe it or not. That's how it started, and they became the pioneers in personal computer in the PC world, if you will. And they ran their company with the best interest of the employees at heart. And I know this because a friend of mine, actually a number of people that I know, have worked for Hewlett Packard. They used to have pictures of Mr. Hewlett and Mr. Packard in every office. And that wasn't a joke. People really, really, really liked those guys because whenever there was a profit, they would share it with the employees. Yeah, profit sharing with the employees.
Oh, my goodness.
They would take care. I know, right? They would take care of their employees. They would really, they would, because they started small. They started in the garage. They didn't lose themselves in the big corporate as long as they were still in charge. Now, obviously, many CEOs later, HP is a very different company. But while it was still run by the founders, that's my point.
Yeah.
It was doing all the things that they thought were good corporate citizenship and stewardship towards your employees. Of course, customers will, but the employees are really, really important. So my point here is that I'm really upset with the Amazons and the Googles and the Facebooks because they don't anymore. They treat their employees worse than IBM, if that's possible.
They treat them worse than their clients, and they treat us pretty bad.
Yeah. So just think about that for a second. So you had some old school gentlemen there. I'm not saying they were perfect, but they at least they stuck to their guns and they tried to do the right thing. And these guys, these young whippersnippers, maybe not that young anymore, Bezos and Zuckerberg and all the others, they're not that kind of person. They're engaged in the space race, in their own personal gratification, in their own, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Is that so? Okay, good for you.
It's only because I've employed all of the stupidest people.
There you go. So yeah, that really bothers me. So
to stand out.
They're not good people, Dave. They're just not good people.
Yeah. There was some interesting stuff about Microsoft and Windows 11. That if you really don't want Windows 11, just disable TPM in the BIOS of your computer. And then you can't get it put on. It won't automatically do it. At some point, Microsoft is going to just force people by Windows Update. And because you didn't say no, it'll put it on, if that makes sense. So just be careful of that, because you've got to consider they're giving you software updates now. And you, just like Facebook and Twitter and all of the other social media things that we all kind of breathe by now. We don't live by it, we breathe by it. It is our air that we breathe. You think that's air you're breathing? Oh, you haven't used Facebook, says Neo. So says Morpheus. Well, Microsoft now are going to sell your data. They're going to sell your habits. They're going to sell you as a psychological profile to people who want to buy it for whatever the purpose happens to be. So just saying that, look, that's yeah. Hey, can I? I wish that there was a window like at the bank that I could go up to Microsoft and go, can I just buy a copy? Because I don't want to be part of all of this. The sale of my personal information. There's my psychological profile, and they go, no. And they shut the window and it says closed. Because that's what's going to happen. And you've got the only version it doesn't happen in, and you can turn the stuff off, is Enterprise.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing, right? So anything you've got out there in the world, YouTube, Facebook, doesn't matter really. Mm-hmm. It's no longer yours.
That's right.
Uh-oh.
Read the phone.
What do you mean, Mackie? Mm-hmm. It's just crazy talk, Mackie. Of course it's mine. I put it there. It's like reading those Microsoft agreements. Nobody ever does. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Read them? Well, you say yes, and everything is fine, right? Sure, absolutely.
I get to
None of
use
that
it
is
when I
yours.
say yes.
That's what happens. No,
Mhm.
unfortunately not. None of it is yours anymore. If you got stuff on there, you can delete it, and good luck with that. It's all
Deleted
recoverable.
from you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all that happens.
stays-
It's all forever on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, unless, but even then, unless the sun goes supernova, right? and we haven't figured out how to quantum tunnel to another, solar system and get our data there.
Oh, there's
It's out there until the end of time.
yeah.
So
Becky, there's a segue there.
go on.
The sun supernova. Well, it
Yes.
hasn't. We're going to get an X-class flare any moment, and it won't. They say it won't be the Carrington event. Maybe it's not enough protons in it or something, but we should see for the next few days. We should see some pretty good auroras. We don't know to what latitudes they're going to be. But Becky, I remember reading one of the first Gmail agreements.
Okay.
Oh, I think you need a law degree to read it, but I read through it, and one of the things that stood out to me, and I still use it, was anything you create and send via email via this platform, they own. So if you designed, faster than light drive, and you click send on an email having attached it to, some company, whatever, right? Not the company, you don't own it. The company you sent it to doesn't own it. Google owns it.
Now, would that stand up in a court of law? Not likely.
Yeah, but
Not
Becky,
likely.
you said
But
yes.
Yeah, but people say many things when the day is long. But it's all. See, this is sometimes they're contracts that you sign, employment contracts. I mean, there's a contract that someone wanted me to sign. I didn't, but they said, for 6 months you can't work within 30 kilometers of where you used to work for another technology company.
Mm-hmm.
Now in Sydney, that means I have to move to Melbourne if I want to work. So that would never stand up in court. I mean, people still put it in unlimited damages, right? So people want to put in a contract unlimited damages. If you sign up, you can sign up to it. Sure. Would it stand up in court? Not likely. You could try it, but the thing is, you got to try it on, right? You have to try it on. And what does unlimited damages mean anyway? Or you can't work here for 6 months, because if that were the case, then it would actually infringe upon your rights to earn a living, right? It would completely destroy your livelihood. So that kind of clause can't be held up. And similarly, Google can say whatever they want all day long, right? Maybe some courts would hold up in some jurisdictions, but overall, unless someone tests it, right? It's just so many words, and it's not like you actually signed a legal document per se, right? Because you just clicked the tick box. That's all you did. You didn't give them.
Yes, whether or not you signed it, but did you initial every page?
Exactly.
Is it truly a legal document?
Bingo. It's not. The answer is no. Okay.
Was there a justice of the peace? Was there a lawyer involved?
Exactly. These are just. I mean, see, this is where they themselves have told. No, wait, no, Facebook. I'm not a publisher. I'm not a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Or others, other platforms. We're not going to publish. We provide a platform. So it doesn't matter what people say. It's not my fault. Yeah, no. That's what they said, right? But yeah, no.
The moment you start to filter on your platform, say Facebook or Meta, whatever they want to call it, then I saw a really funny meme. There was two images next to each other. Left image was Data from Star Trek, and the right image was what's his name? Zuckerberg. And it had metadata.
Ah.
So it was data and metadata, because the metadata thing is about selling all your, owning you. They own you and everything they know about you. I thought that was really funny. Is it really? With all the platforms that they have, Meki, the moment you start to interfere with what's being posted on your platform, then you become a publisher.
Editor, publisher.
You're
Yes.
a publishing editor.
Yes. 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the point at which then you can be held responsible for what someone puts on there, because you've started to vet. If you didn't do any vetting at all, put your hands in the air and just go, hey, look, we don't even do anything. So, hey, you got to pursue the individual. But this is one of the big discussions that I know that I've had with a lot of people, and everyone has a very specific, narrow view of what it means and what does it mean from a legal pursuit perspective. Of defamation is in question at the moment in Australia for some very prominent New South Wales people in Parliament, and this has raised a bunch of questions to do with, can a person be held responsible, therefore pursued for defamation, if they say something that, you know, I suppose by definition would have to give you the creeps? That's not strong enough. Would it defame you? Well, if you're a public figure, anything negative, negative press against you would defame you. But was the negative press caused by your negative actions, inaction, or you did something to disagree with the constituency? Then that's going to, you know, you're going to get chased down by the mob on Facebook, so to speak, right? It's those questions that are being tested right now. And I've got to say that I've been watching a lot of cases, Mickey, online, and current cases. Not saying who's involved because I don't want to touch that. And I'm kind of surprised at the extent to which the elite, let's put it that way, this is our governmental members who class themselves as elite with their own rules, and they are crying poor and you know and hurt by the words on Facebook and social media and videos, and people, a lot of people make it watch that video. Yeah, they did, because they're interested in what the person has to say. And if you've misbehaved in the eyes of the constituency, then all these people are on board against you. It's no different, Mekki, and I was trying to say this the other day. The conversations that people have online now, and uniquely, additionally, because of the virus and our isolation, and the only place we can have conversations is on social media. And for those people specifically who have been born and social media already existed, that's got to be considered. Mm-hmm. This is their having a beer around a barbecue at a mate's place kind of conversation, where you wouldn't normally make it public, but you know, you're talking with mates about something, right? And you might have a collective hatred for the current ruling party or an individual in that party, or you might have followed regular mainstream media outlet news to say that, you know, they've talked something up as being favorable, but you disagree with it. That's completely allowable conversation. Now, whether it happens around a barbecue or it happens on social media, if you disagree with, you know, what a politician does, that shouldn't be pursued legally. I think that's a very hard place to stand. Now, Mekki, I was expecting, I'm going to hand it to you a sec. So I was expecting right now in the world, in our geopolitical environment, every time historically we've been, say, at odds with another power on the planet, we have swung our pendulum in the opposite direction. So you might find them at, you know, equally distant away from the center pin, pointing in different directions, trying to exaggerate our position as, you know, or their position for that matter, in the geopolitical world saying, you know what, we've got all these things, it's awesome, we're fantastic. And in the West, it's all about capitalism and freedom of speech and the things and all the things the other people don't have. This is the only time I think that I can see in history where, you know, they're burning the books, we're burning the books, they're controlling the media, we're controlling them. What? But we're kind of the same then. If both sides of this geopolitical void that is currently boiling on the planet are both doing the same things, does that mean they're so extreme they've kind of circled back behind us? Crazy.
Kang or Kodos, it doesn't matter.
Yes. So these platforms, the media platforms we have, and everything that's been put in place up to this date has supported this style of governance where they want in on your person, they want in on your conversations, they want to be able to find everybody responsible for any negative press against them and pursue the hell out of it. Hang on a minute. I didn't vote for that.
Which is really interesting. So you're right, that is exactly what's happening. But on the flip side of that is that there's absolutely no authority or body
There's no governance.
oversees or holds responsible any of the federal politicians for anything.
Mm-hmm.
None, zero. And we over the last few weeks we had a lot of discussion on this. Each state legislature and government has this oversight body. So each state in Australia, each territory has a body that oversees corruption, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
On a federal level, no, not so much. Not so much. Oh, okay. In fact, recently they blocked an investigation into the ongoings. I don't know if it's wrongdoings, ongoings of a former minister.
Mm-hmm.
Was blocked by the federal government. There's nothing to see here. But we want to know who donated the money. No, you don't. Trust me, you won't like the answer. What? No. Look, when you grow up, you can come into this head and we'll buy you beer and we'll tell you all about it. That's how it feels a bit, And then I look at these people and I look at the entire government, the federal government in Australia. There's not a single person, not one, that I would lend my car to, that I would lend my lawnmower to. There's not a single person that I would trust with anything worth anything. And that's my little pub test, right? It's a pub test. So if you look around yourselves and your elected officials, is there anyone there that you would go, yeah, I can lend to Bob my car? I'll have Bob babysit my kids, sure. Mm-hmm. Right? And if you don't feel comfortable with those people doing that, then why on earth are they your elected officials? I'm serious. You have to give it the common sense test, the pub test, if you want to call it that, as to whether or not these people should hold office. And the answer in most cases is not. Now in Australia, unfortunately, we have no control over who holds office. What? No, that's not true, Mackie. No, it's absolutely true. We elect a party. Not only do we elect a party, we have a preference system, which is just the biggest rod in the history of elections. So what's a preference system, Mackie? What is this, right? Let's say there's 100 candidates for a seat, and a lot of these people probably have no chance at all to ever get elected into, because they just won't get the numbers. So our system requires them to, register preferences. So let's say if someone votes for John
Mickey, I'll put myself there. I'm going to be representative of the Shooters and Fishers Party.
There you go.
Right, and it doesn't look like I'll ever get the numbers to be in government. So one of the parties, the big parties, the two main parties, will approach me and go, look, if you it doesn't matter how many votes you get, right? If you pass them on to me as preferences, that'll build my vote, see? And yes. I'll kind of, I'll nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, say no more. I'll help you get some of your things through.
Yes.
And you go, well, what do you mean? Right. Well, you're not going to win. So why don't you lend me your winning votes? Just lend them to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what happens. So you're voting for someone, right? The Shooters Party. If Dave from the Shooter Party, you're voting for Dave because you like Dave. He looks like an honest fella. You would lend him your car.
He's so kind.
In fact, you see him. Like he goes to the same mom and pop grocery shop that you go to, right? Okay, now he goes. You know what? You're right, Mr. Big Shot Party. I won't. And look, I want these things here: policy 1, policy 2, policy 3. These are really the things I want to get through in Parliament. And then the big party, bozos go, yeah, Dave, we'll look after you, mate. Don't you worry, eh? On ya.
That was Australian of you.
We'll grab your votes. Thank you so much. And off we go. Now, the truth is, a lot of that horse trading and pork barreling or whatever it's called does happen. So Dave will get his policies will get consideration, and if they can push it through, they will. So otherwise, no one would do it. You do it once, and you never do it again, right? No one ever got anything for it. But it means that, number one, you don't have influence over the person or party that necessarily wins. You just don't, right? So the vast majority of Australians might not ever vote Liberal or Labour, right? It's possible.
Yeah.
In this scenario, because the preferences would go, if there's enough, diversity out in voterland. And then secondly, and this is really the kicker, and this is important for Americans to understand. And in fact, even in Europe, it's somewhat different. You never vote the person. In Australia, you vote the party. Okay? So let's say you vote Labour Party, it doesn't really matter, Liberal, whatever. And you like Barnaby Joyce. No, sorry, he's National. You like Chris Bowen, right? He's actually my member for Parliament. Oh, he's a good guy. I like him. Labour Party, blah blah blah. Even if he's the leader of the Labour Party, then he will be Prime Minister, right? If they win.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee though that he will remain Prime Minister, even if Labour stays in power. And that's what we've seen here in Australia. We have seen a revolving door policy with, Scotty from marketing has been remarkably resilient. But before that, we're just flip-flopping between leaders, and some came back. Right? So we have no control. It's really horrendous, the system here.
Yeah, it is. The Labor Party, the Labor Party, other than the Liberal Party, the Labor Party put in that all the members, all the paid members of that party, so just mum and pops or whoever you are, right, individuals, can vote on who the leader is going to be. But the Liberal Party has still remained that they just have a small little group who decides who their leader is going to be on their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it all falls apart, because guess what that is? That's called an oligarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if you've got a few people making decisions as to who is going to be in power, ultimately that means they're in power. That's who's in power. They are.
Hey,
Kingmakers.
Do you want to be Prime Minister, right? Mate?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Come on then, mate. Come over here, oi. That's my accent.
What the hell was that?
Good, right? What the hell is that? I don't know. I'm channeling Mad Max.
Okay.
Right.
A piece from here and a piece from there.
A piece from here. Yeah, but it's really quite horrendous, because it leaves you with absolutely no power at all, and your vote, while not necessarily surplus to requirement, unnecessary. Yes, it is necessary, and you can do something. But ultimately, though, who is ultimately in charge? Not the people that will push through legislation, etc. That's not up to you. In Australia, that is not up to you. Now, I'm not saying it's much better elsewhere, but if you vote for Biden, you will get Biden. And in America, you can vote for an independent. You don't have to vote Republican. You don't have to vote Democrat. Can vote libertarian. I mean, there's every electorate in America. There's a guy that came third. He was a libertarian. You probably don't know this, right? But he came third in every single electorate in the United States. Not enough to actually make a difference, but he was there. And if the voters had been so inclined, if he had more money to spend on his campaign, then he might have been elected. He didn't belong to any party per se, right? Not the major parties anyway. So, but here in Australia, that's not really possible with the whole preferences system, etc. Unless there's a landslide to a new party, a new person potentially, that comes out of nowhere and is maybe occasioned by some kind of crisis or whatever it might be. This system, just like the Westminster system in the UK, is stuck. We're stuck with this system, which is I'm sorry, Dave, but the system is a failure.
Why are you apologizing to me?
Well, I know you love it. Dave loves it. It's just I'm the one that's complaining, not Dave. Okay.
Well, do you know what? Clearly, there isn't enough sponsorship from private companies, anonymously, of course, to the parliament. I mean, to the individual people that run the country. We need more of that. More in. They've got to, you know. Sorry, I'm just being facetious. There shouldn't be any, because that's, you know what? In any other game, that would be fraudulent activity. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. I mean, really. Oh, sorry, I have to mention this. Thank you.
Go.
That's such a great segue. You're just the king of segues. In Australia, recently, last week or this week, I should say, there was a ruling handed down from the court in Victoria. Victoria is one of the states, Melbourne being the capital. And in Melbourne, there's a casino called the Crown Casino.
Yes.
Now, the Crown Casino did a lot of bad things, right? Money laundering.
Casino. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a thing that casinos wash a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a thing, right? And I remember this one video clip of this. In Australia, we got these shopping bags, like squarish shopping bags with a zipper. And it was full of $100 bundles, and it was just handed over to the cashier at the Crown chip counter, and just give me chips for that, please. And then like an hour later or two, the person would come back with all the chips, maybe a few less, maybe a few more, and get all their money back as clean winnings. Mm-hmm. So there was a finding handed down from the judge that stated the following: Crown Casino acted in an illegal, unethical, exploitative, as well as bullying manner, right? But the first thing they mentioned, illegal. They acted in an illegal manner. Now, in subsequent news broadcasts, that was played down. Oh, they're unethical, or they're exploitative. Yeah. The illegal bit was sort of a bit dropped. I mean, it wasn't. We heard it and it's all there, but it wasn't mentioned that much. And they were allowed, now this is the kicker, right? They were allowed to keep their casino license for another 2 years. Why? Because they are reforming. Right. I've done something illegal. So this is me. I'm going to a bank. I'm robbing the bank. I'm taking the money from the bank. Mm-hmm. Then the cops catch up to me. And they say, "Oh, Mackie, we got you now. You're nicked, mate." And I said, No, I'm reforming. Like, I'm not going to do it again, right? Just give me a chance. And the judge goes, "Oh, Mackie, you look like an honest fella. Sure, you know what? Forget about it. Just keep working on being a better person." That's all good.
Forget about it. Forget about it.
Forget about it. Excuse me? No, actually, a better example is I'm a drunk driver. I've killed somebody, right? I've driven over them. Cops catch me, and I goes, "Oh, Judge, no, let me keep driving." Right, I'm doing better. I'm not drinking as much anymore as I used to. Right, but I'm driving. Oh, you're not drinking as much anymore? Okay, Mackie. You know what? Let's forget about it. For 2 years, I'll let you drive for 2 years. All right. And if you don't kill anyone while you're driving under the influence, we'll just call it even. How's that? Yeah, thanks, Mr. Judge. That's awesome. That's what happened in Australia last week. Okay, and illegal activity.
It all came about because Star Casino is the opposition and didn't want Crown Casino to be just across the water from them in Sydney, because that's my side of the street kind of talk. And so Star Casino has effectively blocked Crown Casino's New South Wales operation. They built a whole building for it. It's probably one of the nicest buildings I've seen for a long time, right? They got a lot of money, Mackie. They got a lot of money.
You think?
Right? But it appears as though, the hit piece on them was successful. But it wasn't continued into Victoria from New South Wales. Different jurisdiction. Doesn't matter. You operate down there, right? Where that crime money is. And Star will operate up here where this crime money is, and as long as you're tapping my nose, going to turn them all in and help us, get these bad guys, you just keep operating, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a form of tourism as well, right?
Oh, look, I mean, there's a lot of things here that are really quite disgusting. I'll be honest with you. It's a terrible
You and I
situation.
couldn't pay that little amount of tax. You'd be locked up in jail.
Right? Look, but that's the thing, though, right? We really, like I said last week, we're living in a 2-tier system. There's actually a 3-tier system, but the tier that you never see, I'm not going to talk about because it's pointless. There's the 3-tier system: invisible tier, then tier 1, and tier 2. Tier 1 are the people that they know the laws exist, but it exists in a way that you've heard of leprosy, right? If you live in Australia or America, you've heard of leprosy. We have leprosy. It's a thing, right? It's somewhere, and that's the way they view the laws. We've heard of these laws you speak of, but they don't really apply to us in the same way that we don't really think we're going to get leprosy. And then there's the tier 2s like you and me, where the laws are very much a real thing if you break them, and leprosy could befall you quite quickly if you're unlucky. But these people, the tier 1s, the laws of the land, very much like leprosy, not really our problem. Thank you very much. We'll just keep doing what we're doing and just shut up. And they keep doing what they're doing, and there's nothing stopping them. I mean, Prince Andrew. I gotta mention. I'm sorry, I have to. Right? Again, this is me, not Dave. Dave loves the leader.
I do love
Prince Andrew said to the court, "I want you to dismiss all charges against me." Initially, he didn't acknowledge he had been charged. That's the first thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
By this lady, and she's not living in Australia, and she alleges that he sexually assaulted her while she was 17, which I think in the state of Florida at the time, or in America, in most states, she was a legal minor. So it's statutory rape, irrespective of anything else. But she alleges assault, she wasn't willing, she wasn't consenting, which makes it worse. So he goes on. She needs to specify a lot more what it is that she thinks I've done wrong. I thought it was pretty clear. That's just my opinion. And apparently, the lawyers also argue, because she was also involved in the legal case against Epstein. There was a clause in the Epstein case that said, no further legal action can be taken against anyone else if you take part in this legal action.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Epstein killing himself in a fashion that medical forensic experts said, yeah, you can't actually break your neck this way by yourself. But that's okay. We're not talking about that. It's a different story.
That's right.
But nonetheless, so this is the argument here now, right? So she needs to provide more detail. And secondly, well, she shouldn't really be taking us to court because of that clause in the other case that obviously didn't go anywhere because Epstein died. And it's astounding. So like I said, these tier 1 people, again, forget about tier 0. Look, interesting that you have these laws. No, they don't really apply to me, you see. I'm not those people. I'm the good people. I'm over here. I can do whatever I like. And it's not just him. He's probably the most high profile though at this point, right?
Oh, at this point, yeah.
And poor Ghislaine Maxwell is just waiting to see how that plays out because there's a lot riding on that for her, I can tell you. And it's a farce. The whole thing is a farce. I'm astounded, Dave, though, that people aren't angry. They're not. That they aren't. What is this, Dave? How come people aren't angry?
There's too much lithium.
Maybe. Too much lithium.
do you know? It's got to be found in every food product now for sure, or at least rains on us while we're sleeping.
What's wrong with your noodles, sir? Not enough lithium. I can still feel my brain.
Pass the lithium. Sodium's now replaced. That's the old lithium. I was watching something really interesting, Mickey. It's an AI program made by a company which examines people's testimonies in interviews. And
really?
Yeah. After this show today, I'll flick you some links, and it's really cool.
Yeah, cool.
And they examined Bill Gates and also Prince Andrew's testimonies.
Oh, okay.
And there was something very interesting about it. Now, people who do interrogations are trained in looking for these items, but a lot of people, the lay person, has no clue when they listen to someone's, I suppose, deposition. And they can't see it, they can't hear it, and they just believe the words that are being said. But what this AI does is use the true skills that have, been born out of, millions of interviews, and they find the real evidence inside those words that are being said, inside the tonation of the answers, the construction of the sentences, the repeated words, how convincing the person is trying to deliver the anti-incriminating evidence, much to the disappointment of themselves, thinking they've done a great job, but really they've just laid down and given it all away. So very interesting. The scores that both Bill Gates and Prince Andrew had achieved were so low that it would equate to the guilty verdict, that they gave enough information away to say that there's something truly going on. Now, these weren't questions designed by an interrogator. These were just interviews on television from someone who didn't ask any backup questions and didn't try to do the pincer maneuver where you ask a series of questions from the front and then you basically ask a question which is deriving the same answer but from another way, intending to trick the person into answering it some way or another. Once the person's brain becomes confused and is fighting for the words, it's evident in their output. It's so clearly evident. I remember watching the Prince Andrew interview on 60 Minutes, and I said to myself at least 5 times, bingo. Like, got you on that. And it was 5 incidences in his where he was intentionally concealing information. That's what I got, and I'm not a trained interrogator. The Bill Gates one, where he said, "Oh, well, Epstein's dead, isn't he?" Chuckle. Right? He had a little chuckle to himself. Why? You just said someone was dead. Someone that you knew. Right? Someone that now, because they're dead, there's no further conversation on that matter. You can't be held accountable. He's gone. And then he went on to praise the work of the charity. I'm not saying this is true, but they connected these sentences together in such a way. This is the person being, in this case, it was Bill Gates. In such a way that it appeared, as unedited as it was, that he was thanking the foundation for getting rid of Epstein, because they were butted up together in the same breath. The words flowed from one sentence to another, just as you would, without a pause, if they were truly connected. Not saying they are. Not saying the AI didn't say it was, but what it did, it raised questions, and if any questions could be raised, you'd want to then start asking them. And that's where basically the interview was cut. So I don't think we're ever going to find out, and I have to say, once again, Mackie, if I don't say it enough, I love the leader. And Mackie's quiet. I think he's run away from the microphone. You know what? We have to understand what legal ramifications there are by saying certain things. You've got to be very, very careful. I don't care that this is radio. I know that we put our archives onto YouTube, and they've got their own things to say about what we say. And like I said, I'm not incriminating anybody. This AI program I thought was extremely interesting, and the little chuckle that Bill Gates has, he might be a little aspy. He might have, other things playing on his mind. I don't know. And I'm not trying to backpedal, but what I'm saying is I'm certainly not incriminating. I'm not saying he's guilty of anything. He's such an unusual fellow, and he doesn't do interviews very well. But if there was anything that I could say about all of these strange goings on that we haven't already covered, it would only be that the tier 0 win every time. And that's got to be it. But look, there was a really quick 3 minutes. There was a lot of conversations about space and, the Elon Musk. Now he's like the world's richest man. And then it morphed into there being conversations about, I think, Jack Ma, Alibaba guy, and his Ant Group, and the collection of companies that sit around and below Alibaba, lost in the last year $350 billion, and as a result is the largest net failure of any company on the planet in losses. I mean, the company's still alive, but the reasoning for the losses is quite complicated. But I would suggest that, being here in Australia and seeing limited news outlets, that I don't have a very strong position on this, other than maybe he didn't, and I'm questioning, maybe he didn't play ball with the CCP. That's all I can say. It's just crazy. Nobody in the chat room said Facebook's metaverse will end humanity. I think we're kind of on the way. Meta, they've released, they're updated, they've rebranded themselves. I mean, why rebrand yourselves at this late stage in the game? And I think it was to be able to add like a virtual reality into Facebook. So either that or it's augmented reality. But they want to start owning it. I actually saw an ad today for the Ray-Ban, camera glasses that have stereo cameras on them, and you can, film everything you're looking at. Why that's a thing, I don't know, but they look completely obvious that they're cameras, and I think there was something that I had to do by having a little light there to say that they were actually filming, but you could just sort of kind of paint over that with, a black texture and not see it. So, I think that might make all that kind of thing disappear. Looking into a crowd and seeing everyone's Facebook IDs would be completely useless. It would just clog the screen. Another thing is, Facebook has been described by the young people as the old people's platform, because they're like Insta now. That's all they do. They send a photo that kind of diminishes over time, makes itself disappear. So everything's temporary. The Twitter thing is too permanent. The Facebook thing is too permanent. And all the kids that have grown up with their parents posting photos, embarrassing photos of their children as they've grown up, and now they've got their own accounts, and the AI links them to it. It's just really sad for them, and they wanted their own platform to be able to talk about it. Anyway, that's one heck of a first hour show. At the top of the break, we're going to be back again, and we're going to be talking about the hypothesis part 4. This is David Mecky's Shiny Side Out.